Hello, I'm Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group. Welcome to Luxe Life Discovered. My co-host today is Shannon Richmond with the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce. So Shannon, glad to have you with us.
Always glad to be here.
Good. And our guest today is Ed Gutentag. Ed is a photographer, videographer,
Cinematographer.
cinematographer. Thank you. That didn't want to come out there for some reason.
And drone pilot.
So welcome to the podcast. And
Thank
so
you.
kind of tell us how you got started with your fascination with the whole video world.
Well, it really started with the first camera I ever got. I got like a plastic brownie. Kodak made these cameras called brownies, but the original one was leather, I think, but mine was plastic because I was 5, and I was probably going to break it. So, we opened our gifts, and my parents weren't paying attention because they went back to bed, and I took it and I was off. And I put it in the closet, and I was like, fine, until my dad can show me how to use it.
Right.
So then I started using it, and then I progressed to a Instamatic with you put the flash on, and when you
I
turned it,
forgot about those little bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and then the 120 or 126 film, and so I just started taking pictures, and then my dad had a Minolta, and I have a picture of it, a Minolta, not Super 8, but regular 8, which was before Super 8.
Right.
Camera, and I started playing with that, and he didn't seem to mind, and so I was shooting little movies, and then he would send the little spool of film. He'd bring it to the pharmacy or drugstore, and
Send it
3 days we'd get it back, and we had a little projector, and I was threading it at 6 years old or whatever, and my neighbors couldn't believe that I was doing that. I was, well, you just kind of go like that, and
Isn't that crazy though?
Yeah.
How times have progressed too. You're threading
yeah, I
it,
forgot
you're doing
about
all
that.
those,
Well,
dropping
it's-
off it at a pharmacy.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's amazing. And then there's a great Mel Brooks joke, and he says, somebody says, what's the hardest thing about making film? And he says, putting the little holes in it. And
Yeah, but even talk about that little square flash bulb they used to, you connect to the top of the camera. I forgot about that because it would rotate once the flash was used.
yeah,
Go
once,
to the next
Yes.
one.
yeah,
Forgot about that, and then forgot about even having to send film off. So that's to be
No, you
developed.
drive up, drop it off, 3 days later.
yeah, there was those,
voila.
Kodak had those
Yeah.
photo mats or something.
Remember those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't. What would our influencers do today if they had to send their? Okay, let's get some pictures. We got to send it off. It'll be 3 days before we can.
Isn't that crazy?
post. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy, but
So, so I started doing that. So I honestly don't think I said when I was 5 years old, I'm going to be a filmmaker. I know what I'm going to do. I mean, it was just fun, And then when we were talking on the phone, I remember my dad, we went to Miami for a vacation. We were little. It was like a big deal. We went to Miami Beach, and I probably had never left New Jersey. Maybe we went to the Jersey Shore, but there was definitely no coral. And I was probably reading about coral and coral reefs and, school. And we're in Collins Avenue in Miami Beach in 1968, maybe. You can just imagine the cars.
Oh
and
yeah.
the Kodachrome look, right?
oh yeah.
And I saw coral like on a traffic island, big pieces of coral that they were using as like hardscape. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's coral. I didn't know it was dead, because coral's a
But
living.
it's still fascinating to see.
Yeah. So I took a picture of it, and it came back, and I'll never forget it because I felt hurt. My dad said, if you're gonna, he didn't yell at me, but he said, if you're gonna take pictures of things, make it interesting. I think basically he was saying, yeah, I know it's coral, but it's a pretty boring picture.
But
Oh,
a lot of good advice in that simple statement.
Yeah, that or child abuse.
I'm not looking at the positive there.
Yeah.
So then, how did you actually get into like where you were making the living? Because you you're from California. I mean, you're from New Jersey.
Well,
you're
yeah,
from California.
I was born and raised in New Jersey. I only applied to 2 schools because I was not good at homework. And I had then it was called short attention span. Now it's called ADD. And I couldn't sit and do homework. And, term paper, forget it,
Wow.
So I only applied to 2 schools. And my reasoning was, not a lot of people would admit it, but I will. One was in Fort Lauderdale and one was in Colorado because I was like, either it's got to be nice all the time so I can, go to the beach, or it's got to be snow all the time because I was a skier.
Okay.
So I got into both schools, but I decided to go to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. It was right on the beach. And I had a really good time. I was 18, and I remember some of it. and
What an area.
and
Yeah.
well, it was 1977, and with spring break, like they have spring break. It was kind of crazy, But when you're 18, it's fun. And one of my teachers came up to me during the class, and it was kind of like a nod, hey, come over here, I got to tell you something. And he's like, put the hand up, like, listen. He knew I was from the New York area. He says, listen, don't take this the wrong way. He says, your work is good when you get it in, but you're wasting your time here in school. He says,
really?
you're better off going to get a job in New York City with a photographer, because he knew I was close. And back then, it was, advertising was booming. It was all film. So I didn't quit at that moment, but I left school soon after that, and I got a job in New York City. I was 19, and I worked for this amazing photographer. And it was interesting how I got the job, because my dad had a deli and a bakery in New Jersey. So I always had a job. I didn't have to worry, like, go look for a job like a lot of these kids. But I knew that I did not want to do that. And everybody and their brother thought, oh, you're going to get this business, you're going to inherit this. And, why wouldn't I, right? And I said, no, I don't think so. And, but I have to credit my dad because, I'll tell you how I got the job. So I'm ringing up a guy, and never met him in my entire life, but he looked like a guy in my class, my senior class, which was the year before, because I left school and I started working for my dad. I didn't get the job right away. And there was a voice in my head that said, you should ask him if he's Larry Farrell's father, because he looked like. I said, are you Larry Farrell's dad? And he looked, yeah, how did you know? I said, well, you kind of look alike. And Larry told me when we were in high school that you sell strobe units to all the big photographers. We're talking like Richard Avedon and like all the big names, and then people you wouldn't know, but he had that market. And anyway, I said, so Larry, I thought maybe you can help me, and do you know anybody? And yeah. So he got me a job.
Aw.
In 2 weeks, I was working, or less.
And so many times it's connections that.
It's relation. Yeah. As we,
Yeah.
my mother used to say, hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
Yep. True
Oh, yeah.
story.
If we knew what we knew now.
Yep.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Never mind.
You'd still be doing that.
Yeah.
But so I got that job, and I'm still in touch with my first boss, and he's kind of like a father figure to me, because I would talk to my dad about stuff, and really more my uncles than my dad about business, and they're gone. So I talk to George a lot, and he's a real New Yorker, and what my mother used to say, what's on his mind is on his tongue. He's not afraid, you know.
We have that problem.
Yeah, we have
sometimes,
that.
Still.
So
Yeah.
how did you get from there to Florida?
So I worked for this photographer for 3 years. I started at the very bottom, sweeping the floors, and then I moved to the dark room. I never moved all, there was 3 assistants to the photographer. I never moved all the way up because the guy that was the first assistant never left.
Right.
So one day, his name was George Cochran. He started doing. He was asked to do commercials. So he was mainly a still photographer, tabletop. We shot 8x10 negative, and back then the agencies wanted to have the same person do both to try and save some money or whatever. So they said, "Hey George, can you do the commercial for Skippy Peanut Butter as well as the still photo?" You know. So what he did was he was very smart. He took calculated risks. He paid for a cinematographer, a camera assistant to come in, rented a camera, because he didn't want to.
Lose that work.
Well, no, well, he didn't want to lose that work, but he also didn't want to look like
He couldn't do it.
in front of an ad agency and all that.
Yeah.
So I was watching them, and keep in mind, I was always kind of the low man on the totem pole, and I was kind of getting tired of it. I wanted to, but when you're in the assistant position, you don't really get any say so,
True.
So I'm watching.
Yeah, I know about that.
Wow, you tell me what to do all the time.
He tells everybody, but go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm watching this, I'm observing this, like maybe I'm 20 now, 21, and I'm watching my boss, who's clearly like the director, then the cinematographer, and the camera assistant. So I clearly see the pecking order. This camera assistant, he's at the bottom, but he's putting the camera together and he's all serious and so they look at him and they go, "Can we go?" And I was stunned. I was like, they just asked the low guy if it was okay to go. I want that job. I want some credibility. I'm tired of sweeping the damn floor. And so then that's when I decided that I would become a camera assistant. So I left there. I got a job at a film equipment rental house because in the movie industry, everything's rented. It's a little different now, but most of the equipment is rented. The production company forms an LLC. They don't buy everything because then they have to go and sell it.
Right.
They lose money.
Then the upkeep and all of that too.
So, but it was everything, lights, grip. It was not camera though. So then I had to go learn the camera. So I learned all the lighting and grip equipment. I went to work at a film equipment rental house. So I got paid to learn, basically, in my early 20s. Not a lot of money, but that's what I wanted to do. When all my friends had graduated college, they were getting big money jobs from, IBM or what, and I had nothing. But that's what I wanted to do. I didn't go to 4-year school. I went to a 2-year school and I left a year early.
So you were living your passion.
Well, I was living my passion, yeah, because of course I like nice things in life, and I grew up upper middle class, so you're used to a certain kind of lifestyle. What did somebody say to me once? It's hard to go back and eat hamburger when you've been eating steak, but you still survive. So anyway, I left the film equipment place. And then I was going to get a job at Panavision. Panavision is a huge worldwide company that rents cameras and lenses, but they couldn't pay me what I wanted at that point. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to learn on my own. So I got the books and I started learning. And then I got, at the time, I didn't know what it meant, a mentor. And I worked with another assistant and trained under him. I did my first movie with him as the film loader. and second assistant. And for those people that are listening that don't know what, the film loader is the guy that actually loads the film in the magazine. You do it in a dark room. And then the second assistant is the guy that holds up the clapperboard or the slate and goes, take one. And so I did my first movie, and then another guy that I worked with called me up, and he says, listen, I just got called to do this job to go around the world for 7 months, and I can't do it. Do you want to go meet, interview for it? I was like,
You
heck
were
yeah.
out the door before you can even hang up.
Oh,
right?
yeah. So I go meet the cameraman, and I basically said to him, I go, look, it's not going to be hard for you to find somebody that can mechanically do this job. But I know I can get along with you for 7 months. And I know we can have fun because, when you go around the world or, you guys in business, you spend more time with those people than you do your spouses, right?
Right.
So he hired me. He actually ended up getting fired after a month. And I learned, this is in 1986.
Did you get to still keep your job?
Not only that, I got to shoot a little bit of it.
Oh.
Yeah, I shot some of the movie. One of my shots almost made it, but so we picked up another cameraman. We were in Kenya. He was from London, and he tried to show me that he was the boss, and I kind of quickly let him know that I was here before you, and I'll be here after you. So just cut
Knock it off.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's certain, one thing I forgot, back to what I learned from my dad. When I worked at my dad's store, I worked in the back. I was mixing salads, or I wasn't waiting on customers.
Right.
And, why I'm bringing this up again is because no matter what business we're in, we have to deal with people in the
Yes,
public.
yep.
And, you don't want somebody.
Even though we want to stay behind the scenes a lot, we can't always do that.
Right, but Shannon will recommend me, and if somebody comes back to her and says, I don't know why you recommended,
Right.
exactly. So I don't ever want that to happen.
Sure.
So I was working in the back of my dad's store as the owner of this, I kind of did what I wanted, I worked. So one day, 10, 11, 12, 13, I'm back there goofing off with all the guys, and dad comes running back, and he slides on the tile floor, whatever, slate, and hey, I need you in the front of the store right now. I was like, oh my God. You mean I have to talk to people I don't know? And he goes, I need you in the front. So I kind of shuffle over to him, and I go, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And he goes, it's really easy. Like he's got to get back,
Right.
He's like, it's really easy.
Crash course. Right?
Yeah, it's really easy. You just say 3 words. Can I help you? Now get out there. Go get a.
That's 4. Can I help you?
I just
I wanted real fast.
I wanted to make sure you're paying attention.
Can I help you?
Well, what's amazing though, you've taken all the different experience you've had from working with your dad to being, the lower entry and in the film business, and you put all that together. So let's fast forward to what you're doing now. What projects do you work on? How do you select your projects? And
Well, I
And what's your favorite movie that you ever shot?
so just because you asked me how I got to Florida, so I lived in LA from '88 till 2014. 2014, Atlanta had a great tax incentive, so I moved to Atlanta. My daughter was going to graduate high school, so it was okay. And, I started working a lot in Atlanta, and then I just kind of was at the end of my rope with the business. So I worked on, there was a couple of movies in Atlanta. I worked on Alvin and the Chipmunks Road Trip. I think that'll be the last one. Instead of calling it Alvin and the Chipmunks 4.
Right.
So a couple other movies. The best thing I worked on that was shot in Atlanta was the series with Ozark.
Okay.
Yeah, really great show. A friend of mine was the producer, so he got me on. And then I just kind of was done with the business because when I got to Atlanta, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. And when I got to Atlanta, like in LA, because in LA I had a side business that I made more money at than when I was a crew person. So I was always looking for something to do in between because movie business is freelance. You know, you work, you don't work, you work. So somebody introduced me to a Persian rug importer.
Interesting. Okay.
And I went to his warehouse and there was like 30,000 rugs in there. And I went, there's a lot of money in here. Who do you say, you know? Anyway, I got him online. So I started doing that in between movies, like a side hustle. And then I just got tired of the business. I wasn't happy doing it anymore. I was miserable. And I was in Atlanta about a week. And I pretty much lived right near Malibu. In you know where I lived. I lived in a place called Topanga Canyon. So I was on the Coast Highway every day, seeing the beach. And strangely enough, I thought Atlanta was on the Eastern Seaboard. And
Atlantic? Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
yeah, well, maybe that. And I get to Atlanta and I'm like, oh wow, this is far west, you know. So I met somebody and I said, hey, where do you go to the beach around here? I kind of need to see the water, you know. And she said, oh well, like it was nothing. Well, Savannah's only like 5 hours away. I was like, Savannah?
Oh.
I worked on Forrest Gump, and we shot in Savannah.
Okay, so
And
you're not thinking beach. Yeah.
No, it wasn't my idea, you know, because Malibu beaches are beautiful, and there's rocks, and
Waves.
yeah, there's waves, the water. So she said, well, you can go to the Redneck Riviera. And I was like, what did you say? You know, it was almost insulting.
Yeah.
I said, what the heck's a Redneck Riviera, you know? She goes, oh, it's like Destin and Panama City Beach. And I said, oh, I think I've heard of Destin. She said, well, the beaches are amazing. You know, that's why they call it the Riviera part, you know? Yeah. And I was
Have
like...
you heard it called the Redneck Riviera?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a rug show in Texas, and I met somebody that lived in Inlet Beach. And I said, where is that? And oh, yeah, I've heard of that place, the Redneck Riviera, you know. And she says, oh, no, it's pretty amazing.
It's grown from that from years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It's just that there's a lot of people from the South that come here.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people with money from the South.
a lot of people from money, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what I call 30A. It's where the rich white people live. You can cut that out if you want.
All right. So since we're almost out of time, tell us something that you are doing in your business that you look forward to doing next. Like, is there a big thing that you want to accomplish? Is there something on the horizon?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, you know, meeting you has been great. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, you've gotten me, you know, a couple of money-paying gigs. You know, I was doing a little bit of real estate photography, but it doesn't really float my boat, you know, and it's not worth the money that they're...
But with the drone footage that you
do,
so we've never really had videos per se on our chamber website, but he showed us some drone. We're like, oh my gosh. So the chamber's going to hire him to do some stuff on our website, and so we're about to launch a new one along with Ed.
Yeah, I mean, that's so flattering because I got into the drone thing and I kind of didn't want to, because what happens with Ed, with me, if I can talk about, is, you know, I'll look at the next camera purchase and I'll go, well, you know, I'm looking at this Lumix G. I know that's a very good camera. I wonder if there's an F out, So I start, should I spend a little more? So what happened was a friend of mine lives in the Bahamas, and he says, you can come anytime, you stay as long as you want. I'm like, you don't have to ask me twice, but bring a drone.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he says, but bring a drone. He totally baited me, and I said, well, I don't want to buy a drone, because I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend a lot more. And I ended up getting a drone. I ended up spending more than I wanted to. And I have 3 drones. And, I've done, in terms of work, I did a commercial for the Skywheel in Panama City Beach, in Pier Park. I do work for Linda Miller, who I adore, a real estate agent.
You did the eFoils grand opening with remember that windy day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So he's got the drone and we're all smiling for a picture and he takes off running. We're like, oh, that can't be good.
Oh, no.
We're like, because his drones are not cheap. They're very expensive. And so he takes off running and we're like, and so we're all like frozen waiting. And then here he comes back and there's the drone. And we're like, whew, phew, that was a close one.
Yeah, because you have to have if you're going to make money with a drone, you have to have you have to be FAA certified. And it's like basically taking the same test that single engine pilots have to take. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's pretty serious.
We can go on forever.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
So if people want to contact you for your work or to
they can.
how do they
They can. I'm all over social media. So my website is my first and last name, edgutentag.com. Oh, wow.
Wow, we're up there.
Man, you guys that was
High class, baby.
it wasn't even out of my mouth. And I didn't even say the HTTP // Anyway, I have Facebook business page is Ed Gutentag Panhandle Aerials and Photography, or my Facebook, you can find it through that. Then I'm on Instagram as Ed Gutentag, and or I actually like people just to call me if they, but
Right, give you a number.
oh, boom, there it is.
There.
850-774-0661.
All right.
In fact, that phone number is because of Paul, if anybody wants to really know. And
Paul comes in handy sometimes.
pardon me.
Paul comes in handy sometimes.
Yeah, he he's
Live around the corner.
he's funny, but he's clever.
Yes.
Yeah,
But we'll go with
you sort of get fooled because he tries to be a comedian, but he's clever.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, Ed, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure to learn more about you and have you on the podcast. So that concludes our episode of Luxe Life Discovered for today. We want you to go to our website at luxelifediscovered.com, see a full listing of our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and anywhere you can subscribe, be sure to do so. And we'll see you next time on Luxe Life Discovered.
Check out Luxe Life Discovered on Facebook and Instagram and on 30a.tv. See you next time on Luxe Life Discovered.